Hi, folks. I'm Father Joe Grimaldi. You can call me Joe, and I'd like to welcome you to my podcast. But now, here's our host and friend, Ken Calvert.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ken Calvert, alongside my suntan friend, Father Joe Grimaldi. Welcome to the Father Joe Grimaldi Podcast. The Father Joe Podcast, proudly supported by Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln on 12 Mile Road, just east of Telegraph, home of the Star treatment. I want to talk to you about Lincoln Copilot 360, the next generation of safety on the road. It's a package of Lincoln's 5 most popular driver assist technologies. It's available in all 2020 models. It's a sophisticated extra set of eyes to help you keep your family secure on the road ahead. Now, this includes a 360-degree camera, active park assist plus, evasive steering assist, reverse brake assist, and adaptive cruise control with traffic jam assist, which includes stop and go and lane centering as well as speed sign recognition. This upgrade from the standard Lincoln Copilot 360 helps keep your journey seamless and stress-free. Stress-free driving, that's another reason to visit Hoot McInerney Star Lincoln on 12 Mile Road, just east of Telegraph. It's the home of the Star treatment. Well, it's been just about a month, and you've been spending quality time helping out, assisting at St. Elizabeth Seton in Naples, Florida. And how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I think it's a great parish. It's a lot of very nice people. It's interesting. It's in the middle of a Hispanic area. However, I think they probably need another Mass just for the Hispanics. We do have one at 7 o'clock at night on Saturday, but it's not enough because so many of them are working at night. Now, the other Masses are full. There are about 1,000 people come at 4:30. They come at 7:30. They come at 9 o'clock. They come at 11 o'clock. So we get an awful lot of people coming in. You see, Florida is an interesting place, especially the southwest part that we are in. You have a lot of these gated communities, and they usually rent their homes for the people up north. And so it is packed. I don't know what it is. I do notice this, and it's always been true here in Florida, that whenever the people come to get away from the snow and the ice and so on, they seem to be very intent on starting off the day with a Mass. And so that this way on Sundays, each Mass has about 1,000 people in one parish. Could you imagine?
No.
It's just, to me, it's mind-boggling.
Sure.
But it's always been this way. And we are just one parish. I mean, all of the other parishes that are in Naples seem to have the same problem. The reason is
a good problem.
Yeah, it is. But the thing is this, that it only happens, it's either feast or famine, because during these months, of course, the population triples. But then once summer comes along, population dwindles because people go back home and people wait for the big hurricanes and all of this other stuff. So it's an interesting life that you have to lead when you live here full time, because, as they say, you have a lot of tourists, a lot of outsiders coming in, but then in summertime it's changed.
You were talking in a past podcast, and I'm going to make an abrupt right turn here.
Okay.
Into each life some rain must fall. Okay, but sometimes for some it seems heavier than others, or whatever the case may be. But if somebody is having issues, a problem, and God knows it could be several different areas. They could be alcohol abuse, they could be opioid abuse, they could be marital strain. It could be the fact that they've lost their interest in their religion. Just all sorts of things. You've said before, don't be afraid to talk to someone, including your pastor or a priest. How does that work? What do people do? How do they do that without being embarrassed to approach a Catholic priest about an issue big to them, and it took a lot of courage to come forward to ask you to help them out?
Yeah, any of those problems you mentioned are never small, okay? Those are serious things that people are dealing with. How does it work? Basically, you find someone that you feel an attraction with or to. You feel that you might be comfortable with that person. And it's easier to speak to someone, but someone you feel comfortable with, okay? Because it's like anything else. When you go see a psychiatrist, a psychologist, you want to go to somebody that you can relate with, because the first session always tells you whether you're going to continue with that person or not. And they understand that, because if you don't relate, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. Well, the same thing is true of seeing the parish priest or someone who is knowledgeable about theology, if it is to do with religion, or someone who is knowledgeable about family interactions. The thing is this: you have to, how should I put it, feel comfortable with the individual. And then it's easy to say, Father, can I have a few minutes of your time? And ordinarily, when somebody asks like that, it's usually granted, unless the person is completely insensitive. And I don't think there are too many priests that are like that. There are some, I'm sure. So I think it's as simple as that. There's nothing, you don't fill out any forms or anything like that. You simply go, Father, I need to speak with you about something.
We, through these podcasts, realize that you, for example, you're very busy. Let's take, for example, there was a period 2 weeks ago when your pastor was on vacation, Father Luis was ill. You carried everybody else's water. You were really busy. As a retired priest, being asked to help out in Naples. People may desperately need to talk to Father Joe Grimaldi, but they realize he just may be too busy, so they don't, and they should. What do?
Yeah, I just wish they wouldn't feel that way, because if the topic is important to them, then it's something that they should pursue. All right, the priest is busy, but so what? Everybody is. And the thing is this, that if it is done in a proper way, I don't think the priest could ever refuse. He will probably set up a time for them to talk. I think it's important enough that if a person has the courage to ask for help, I think the priest should be able to do that.
You said something interesting there. If they have the courage, how do they put their fear aside and do it?
Well, if it's important to them, if it's really important.
What I'm saying is you're going to give them advice right now because they may do it after listening to this podcast.
It's easier said than done, okay? First of all, I think the person himself or herself has to realize that he or she is in a very serious situation, and therefore they need to do something about it. Now, when they hesitate, they have to ask themselves, why am I hesitating? Well, yeah, the priest might be busy, but so is everybody else. And so you would ask, and I'm sure the humility of asking, because I say it takes humility, sometimes these things can be shameful for an individual, And so they're afraid to discuss this, but they know they need to, and so they will ask, and the priest will comply, I'm sure. Unless he's completely insensitive. So I don't think it's so mechanical that there's a 1, 2, 3 step. The individual has to put aside the fears and move on.
How do you do it? What do you do? Where do you meet? What do you do?
You pick a mutual place. Ordinarily, it should be in a place which is public. When I say in public, I don't mean in the middle of a restaurant, okay?
Yeah.
I'm speaking in a public building. It should not be in your living room or your den,
Why?
Well, because priests should not be hosting people one-on-one that way, especially when you're talking one-on-one. So it could be also if the two people get together and they decide something that they mutually agree on. I don't think there's a specific place where they should meet. It depends on what's available and what's their liking.
So you could go to a coffee shop and sit across from each other and easily discuss, or at least attempt to start the beginning of what may become a more serious discussion.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And it doesn't have to be incredibly serious, but it could be serious.
Yes, it should be something that's serious. I mean, for example, I'm going to give you the opposite, okay? You have people that are scrupulous beyond your imagination. And they need to see a professional psychologist, not a priest.
Yeah,
Okay?
I get that. Yep.
And it's very, very important, believe me. Even when it comes to confession, you have people that are so scrupulous, they count the hours and then come and see the priest again and again and again and again. So that to me is a sign of some mental weakness or a disability, and they should see somebody who could help them. Scrupulosity is a horrible thing. People are living in fear constantly because they think everything they do is evil in some way or other. And so this is why they feel they have to go to confession 4 or 5 times a day. Well, that's not acceptable.
No, that's
so the thing, when we're speaking about when somebody should approach a priest or a theologian or someone who is knowledgeable in any way, it should be something that is serious, but not something that is frivolous.
I think that on occasion people put aside things that could easily be resolved by talking to a priest. I think sometimes parents have difficulties with their children when they're in middle school or high school and they realize that they don't have any sort of control any longer over that child. And they may reach out to somebody like you, a former high school principal, teacher. They could reach out to you and say, I got to find some form of connection with my son. I've got real worries about this guy, and I know they're trying to do the right thing at the school, but he's not bringing it home. He's not talking to me.
If a person doesn't trust the individual from whom they're asking advice, it's better they don't even talk to them, okay? They have to be willing to trust the individual's recommendation, not necessarily follow it, but at least trust what the recommendation is. For example, when it comes to things like discipline, everybody likes discipline for everybody, but not for my son, okay, or not for my daughter, because they're really very good people, and you don't seem to understand, but I need your help. Well, I don't know what that means, okay? So it would be better if that person was to see a professional psychologist or somebody that could help them in a different way. If they're not going to listen to the advice that is being given to them, not that they have to follow it, but at least listen to it, then it's better they don't see the priest. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. In other words, if it's coming down from the high school and it's already gone through its various levels of scrutiny, then you're the last person they're attempting to come to you to say, hey, I'm right, and they're wrong. Right, Father? Yeah. Support me on this one. My kid's a good kid. He did good. He did nothing wrong yet. All of a sudden, everything he does, they're all over this kid.
Yeah.
Help me out, Father.
It doesn't have to be just with that kind of discipline. It could be other things that are going on. For example, drug use. Parents don't like to believe that their son or their daughter might be into drugs.
Yeah.
If somebody approaches them and says the wrong thing,
not my kid. Yeah.
Those people are history. Yeah. Until something tragic happens, then they say, "Oh, I should have listened."
Yeah, I saw it and I did nothing about it. But there is that aspect of a priest that's very, very important that I think people overlook. And that is the importance that you offer to your parishioners, to your flock. You're there to help them in terms of being a navigator somebody that has a moral compass a little bigger than ours that they can come and ask to borrow. Is that a good way of putting it?
Oh, yeah, with experience. Yes.
Yeah. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to approach your pastor, no matter how well you know him or his assistants, right?
Well, anybody. It doesn't have to be a priest. I'm just thinking...
I'm just saying that people, Joe, I think you think from your perspective, it happens all the time, so therefore people aren't uncomfortable doing it. I think people are very, very, very uptight and may think about it, or as you like to say, pray over it for months and months and months before they pick up the phone and go, hang up, click. It's like calling a girlfriend back in grade school.
Yeah, okay.
You pick up the phone, you go, okay, dial. Okay, let me try this again. That's what I'm telling you on this side of the collar.
Yeah, not only should they ask, I think it's important that they ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how do you reach out to people and tell them, feel free, that's what we're here for? They shouldn't necessarily be in awe of the pastor. Rather, they should consider it to be exactly what your title is, a father figure.
You have said it beautifully. I don't think you could say it any better.
Then with that said, folks, you have your direction from both Father Joe Grimaldi and Brother Ken Calvert. I've given myself a title today. And we'll see you next time on the Father Joe Grimaldi podcast.
I look forward to it. Take care. This is Father Joe Grimaldi, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Father Joe podcast.
If you'd like, you can email us. It's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. That's frjoepodcast@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply search Father Joe Grimaldi. And thanks for listening, everyone.